Okay, it's the Africa Investigative Journalism Conference. The organizers are the Wits University Department of Journalism, which is led by Anton Haber. I've had the privilege to be a part of the conference since 2012, and when it was called the Power Conference, it's a gathering of investigative reporters across Africa, but we also have a lot of people from around the world supporting African journalism who attend the conference. The purpose of the conference is to highlight the importance of investigative reporting to democracy, to rule of law, to good governance. It is also a place where many reporters and the stakeholders around them network, meet themselves, chart a way forward on the work. But it is also a place where a lot of training and capacity development for journalists from around the world happens, a lot of knowledge sharing, a lot of updating on new tools for journalism or new ways we can do investigative reporting. So it is a festival of some sort, and it is a great place for learning.
And I'd imagine a festival of ideas, so to speak. I'd like to focus on the investigative journalism aspect of it. We know the environment differs from country to country, so do the laws. So the type of topics that you'll be zeroing in on and the environment about the feasibility of investigative journalism. If you could just also take us through that, please.
Okay, so I am from Nigeria, but there are journalists from all over the world that attend the conference, and it is powered by the Wits University Department of Journalism. We come together to think a lot about the challenges that face investigative reporters, challenges of safety, challenges of the hijacking of the media through media ownership by politicians, by many people of interest, like we can see around the world. We talk about the challenges of funding and sustainability of the media, especially, pre-COVID. During COVID, globally, many media houses had to lay off staff, just like many other organizations. But the media was pretty hit. And, when the media is hit, the truth is hit, democracy gets hit too. So we come together to brainstorm about these ideas. And there are various panels that are holding, like you already mentioned. Earlier today, we had a panel on mainstreaming women in investigative reporting, and we're checking whether we had made some progress in that regard. There was a panel around metaverse. There was a panel about how to handle investigative reporters and how to work with them to ensure that we get results. There was a panel around sustainability. Sometimes we have 6, 7 panels, holding simultaneously, so it's pretty packed. And whilst we talk about so many challenges, we're also talking so many solutions to investigative reporting and making a headway in that regard.
Yeah, and please talk to us about that, some of the innovative ways that journalists are finding to tackle their challenges or to find new ways of bringing information to a wider spread of people, and also the role of data analysis and technology. That's something that we've had to contend with over the past couple of years. There are strides being made in that, but there's also still the question of traditional journalism in that.
Oh, yes, totally. So many ways. Back at the Wole Soyinka Centre for Investigative Journalism in Nigeria, where I lead the organization, we have a program that we call the Collaborative Media Engagement for Development, Inclusivity and Accountability. It is the C Media. It has 26 media organizations as partners. And what we're doing with it is that we're focusing on reporting state and local government, because we realized through research and experience that the media is pretty focused on national government, which is the federal government in Nigeria. However, there's a lot of unpacking and unearthing to do at local and state government, where governance is closer to the people. So we're covering issues of social services, issues around education, issues around climate change, issues around the things that affect people's health, the things that affect people directly. And we're empowering, 26 organizations over 3 years to do the work. Part of the creative ways that we also do this work is that we collaborate with newsrooms, and we get newsrooms and reporters to collaborate with one another. Now, collaboration is not something that comes easily to reporters, but we're finding a way through it. Sometimes, media houses are competitors, but when it comes to justice and the social change that we're seeking, it is important that media houses, collaborate. On data journalism, there is a lot of training that's happening at the African Investigative Journalism Conference right now. It's for 3 days, so till Wednesday, people are still training. The challenge, of course, is that there's a lot of knowledge gap, and there's a lot of absence of data that is authoritative. So many journalists talk about the fact that they have to work, from the base. Sometimes when there are data sets available from government, they are available in PDF documents, such a way that the journalists have to convert, take it back to Excel spreadsheets, start the analysis all over so that they can be able to understand the data, or they come printed. So that the journalists then have to, scan, then convert. So it's a long route to what we want. So having data sets available. Yes, please.
Okay, sorry, I wanted you to finish, but let me just throw in this question. You can just add your concluding thoughts when you respond. Sure. We'll talk about climate change in just a moment, but I'm just wondering, because as you point out, you're from Nigeria, and reporting in conflict or within conflict is one of the discussions we've been having in Africa. Not only the coups we've experienced, I mean, we're having the peace talks on Ethiopia here in South Africa, and there are several countries that are beset with this, and not to mention the war in Europe. And fact-checking has been something that's come in time and time again, but more importantly, the understanding that accurate reporting can actually impact the narrative that is consumed out there, and the understanding of the conflict itself. So it's not only about keeping journalists safe, but ensuring that the material that we read or consume is safe from undue influence and propaganda.
Yes, to finish the thought on data, it's about interpretation of data and having data that is authoritative from government. But moving to covering conflict, it's an important topic, and for Nigeria, it is complicated by many issues. I had the privilege to make a presentation on this at the Bonn conference by DW earlier in the year. And the issue is that the journalist has a lot of work to do, because you're not just doing reporting, you're also checking sensitivities, religious, ethnic sensitivities. And in Nigeria, the Freedom of Information Act has some exemptions, and those exemptions have to do with security issues. So covering security is difficult because information is not readily available. Yet the journalists do their best, they balance the act. On our work program, we've been able to support and acknowledge journalists who have done, reports about the war and about how it affects the people, and about how, the military sometimes is wrong. But also we have had reports that has praised the military and also put the spotlight on, the better welfare that our soldiers need to be able to fight the war. So I believe that this kind of nuance is what is needed to investigate, conflict times. The fact that it's not A or B or white or black. There's so many gray areas, and it is the job of the journalist to explain the gray areas to us so that emotions do not flare unnecessarily.
Thank you so much for your time, and all the best with your conference. Hopefully some positive outcomes that
you so much
will glean and benefit from. That is Motunrayo Alaka, who is speaking to us about the 18th African Investigative Journalism Conference.